I will introduce you.
Bây giờ nó phải lấy đấy là được.
Lên là có một
Ok, done.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Lee, our number 11 presenter today, our 11th presenter. She's going to talk to us about country gender profile, and she's going to show us a YouTube video as well, correct? So please put your hands together for Miss Lee.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my presentation. So I'd like to introduce myself again. I'm Lee, and I'm working for United Nations entity for gender equality and empowerment of women. What I'm going to share with you today is very much about gender equality. Yeah. So my presentation today is about country gender profile, which there is 3 main points that I want to share with you. First, about data visualization. The second is what is country gender profile, and third is why we need country gender profile. And by the end of the presentation, I hope that you understand why UN Women in Vietnam is supporting the country to develop country gender profile. Okay? Okay, so first, to start your understanding on country gender profile, I have a short video, only 2 minutes, to share with you. Okay, so only 2 minute video, what it tell you? So you can see that a lot of data was presented on how women and men are different in access to different type of agricultural activity, right? Even to seed, even to land certificate, all that is important for rural women and rural men, okay? So there is many ways for us to visualize the data, and the data is so important for us. For us to show people on what is the situation of women and men and why we need to support women and men in different ways. For example, Phương, if you want to encourage people to use Sasa, you need to use data to talk with people that this is the situation in Vietnam, why Vietnam need to apply different tools to encourage people to end violence against women, right? Leica, you also need to show data to people on why the situation of women with HIV positive in Vietnam, right? And also Thi Anh, why we need the data specifically on climate change, on how the climate change impact women and men differently. So that is also the video I show you is the one of the way to visualize data. Okay, for example, this is also another way of data visualization. For example, you can see here, this is a recent publication from the UN in Vietnam, which they show with these two circles, they show how different women and men in access to land use right certificate. Only 52% land rights use certificate is owned by men, in which only 20%, right, owned by women. And this in this picture, very simple. You can see 85. It means 6 in 10 women in Vietnam experience violence against women. And also, for example, women and men, but women experience violence less 30% than. Okay, so this one is the same. To this graphic talking about the same issue. For example, here in Vietnam, they also talking about the number of positive women, which is higher than men. So you see that there is many ways to share the data. And why we need to know? Yes. And why we need to know about the data is very important. We cannot manage the issue if we don't know how, we cannot measure it. For example, as a head of the household, you need to know how much money you have, how much you spend for priority of your family. So that, for example, if you see you don't spend enough for your education of your children, you have to invest more. So you have to know the figure and the data. Okay, so what is the country gender profile? So basically, it is a publication that demonstrates women and men development, the progress of gender equality, the living status of women and men in the country. So that through presenting sex-distributed data in different sectors. So what I share with you in the video is about the situation and men in agriculture sector. So in the country, you can present so many things like in employment, on the labor issue, on the agriculture, or even in the issue of access to justice, for example. So different issues. So for example, I show you the book, which is published by Sweden. So they do every 2 years, and it's only a book with this size, half of the A4 size, and present all the data that relate on women and men in their country. So why we need that? Okay, why we need that? Why do you think that we need that? Can you share some of your idea? Okay, so first, women is at least 50% of the world, right? So we have to know about this. We cannot talking about development without knowing how the half of the world is living, what is their status, how they can benefit from the development. So achieving gender equality is one of the most important goals in development goal. And the secondly, that you cannot advocate for concrete action on gender equality if you do not show people why we need to do that. And this publication will help you to do that by communicating gender sex distributed data in different sectors to different stakeholders. Also, it provides, okay, so in the process of developing this gender country profile, you have to look at the data system of your country, a different sector, to see which data is available, which data is not. So each country do that. It is really an exercise for them to review their system, whether the data collection system in their country is strong enough to collect and to make analysis of gender sex distributed data in their system. So it's really a good exercise of a country to strengthen their data collection system. So that's why in many countries, they have done this. Even in European countries, it's not only developed by government, but also developed by the private sector, because they want to utilize the they want to see the situation of women and men so that they can utilize the strong strength of women in the economic development. Okay, so that is my presentation, which cover 3 issues. What is data visualization? The second, what is country gender profile and why we need that? So now I close my presentation and I'm looking for your comments and questions. Thank you.
Any comments, any questions for Ms. Lee? Yes.
Thank you for very interesting presentation. It's not a question, but it's more like a comment. It seems that it's very interesting and it will have a lot for our work. I think for Vietnam, the data collection is very challenging. I can see that it is, if we want to do it, it's very challenging also. So,
Yeah.
just hope that we can do something with that.
So thank you for your question. In many countries, when they list out the data they want to collect, and then they look at what data they have, there is a lot of that. But in many cases, they also include the issue of, also include the information on what area that they don't have. In that sense, it also helps the country to identify where is the gap that you don't have data to prove the situation. And that also helps for the country to plan how you have to collect that in the future. Thank you.
The government has an approved set of gender equality indicators, 100 and something number of indicators approved in 2010, right? And there have been efforts of the World Bank to support the General Statistics Office to review this set of indicators. How will this contribute to that effort, overall effort, to relook at those indicators? Is there a possibility that those indicators would be revised as a result of our support to the country gender profile?
Yes, so, okay, very interesting question, but also not easy question. Yeah. Okay, so in Vietnam, we have the more than 100 gender statistic indicator, and also we adopt 54 minimum gender indicator of the UN system. So for Vietnam, once we assist the country to develop the country profile, the country gender profile, that's also based on all these indicators. So by fill all the data based on this indicator, it also helps Vietnam to identify which gender statistic indicator they are not able to collect yet. So that is also a very challenging exercise for the country in 2050 when our organization is supporting the government.
Thank you very much. And who is next?
Save the best for last.
Best for last. Is this the last presentation?
Yes.
Yes.